I'm going to call the meeting to order. Ask you to please stand for the pledge to the flag. Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, I'd like to welcome everyone to the regular town board meeting. The first item that we have is a public hearing on the benefit assessment districts. I'll read the notice of public hearing. Please take notice, the town board of the town of Cornwall will hold the required annual public hearings on the 11th day of October 2016 at 7:00 p.m. Town Hall, 183 Main Street, Cornwall, New York, on the benefit assessment districts for 2016 in the town of Cornwall as follows. Cornwall Refuse District, Firth Cliff Heights Sewer District, Firth Cliff Sewer District, Beaver Dam Lake Sewer District, Majestic Sewer District, Hidden Glen Drainage District, Main Street Parking District, and Stone Hollow Drainage District. The town board will, at the above date, time, and place, hear all persons interested in the subject matter hereof. Persons may appear in person or by agent. All written communications addressed to the board must be received by the board at or prior to the public hearings by order of the town board, Town of Cornwall, Renata McGee, Town Clerk. I'll just note for the record, the Cornwall Refuse District has 39,531 units. The Firth Cliff Heights Sewer District has 1,653 units. Firth Cliff Sewer District has 447 units. Beaver Dam Lake Sewer District has 1,909 units. Majestic Sewer District has 25 units. Hidden Glen Drainage District has 14 units. Main Street Parking District has 39 units. Stone Hollow Drainage District has 29 units. We will declare the public hearing open. I do have one short letter that we got from a Michael Copeland. It says, Town of Cornwall Board, I received this notice in the mail, below in the mail. I am unable to make the public meeting due to my health, but I ask that you please do not increase the assessment or taxes for our district. We're struggling as it is, and tax increase would continue to make things very difficult. And actually, this is not what the benefit district hearing is for. It's for property owners to have an opportunity to address the board with any objections they would have or concerns they would have with regard to the number of units or points that are assigned to their particular property. You know, for example, if someone had a piece of vacant land and it was assessed 3 points for sanitation, and it turns out that the property is not buildable, would never be buildable, and they would come in and say to the board, there will never be any service provided to this lot. I'd like you to, you know, remove the 3 units from my property. That's what this hearing is for. So I'll ask if anyone from the public has any comments they'd like to make at this hearing. Again, I'll ask anyone have any comments. If not, a motion to close the public hearing. Moved. Second. Discussion. Roll call.
Mr. Russell?
Yes.
Mr. McGinnis?
Yes.
Ms. Bunce?
Yes.
Mr. Summerfield?
Yes.
Mr. Randazzo?
Yes. Motion is carried. Okay, next we have approval of minutes, September 6, 2016 special meeting, and September 12th, 2016 regular meeting. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion?
I just have one little thing, probably not a good way to start the meeting, but, Michael, I feel that you owe this town board an apology for the things that you are saying and accusing us of, and the name calling that you're doing. I just feel like the things that you're saying on your Facebook and in the paper are not true, and they're misleading, and this board has done more than when 2 years I was on the board previous, and we work together. We're trying to move forward. We're listening to people, we're working with organizations. We are really trying to go in a positive direction, and I feel like you don't want us to, and your comments are really, really disruptive to our plan for progress. And the name calling and the accusations, I think you owe us an apology.
I've never called anybody a name.
Well, I think the flat-footed comment about the supervisor was kind of like, maybe not a name, but it's not nice, and saying that we're hostile, that, you know, that the supervisor is, you know, after Nema. Those are negative comments that I feel like you were incorrect, and I think you know you were, and I think you need to publicly tell the people that our intentions were not ill-willed. They were positive actions.
I never said they were ill-willed. I have my opinion. I expect the board to be open-minded and progressive and move the town along. And if I observe that that's not happening, then I'm gonna say it's not happening. I'm gonna say why. And it's not a matter of ill will, and I actually have the highest regards for everybody who sits here. However, we hit walls every now and then, and you know, maybe it takes a little getting used to speaking in public. However, I think everything that I've said expresses my view, and I don't feel any reason to apologize. I may word things differently in the future. I never intend to hurt anybody's feelings, but I do want to see action. I was elected to make the town respond to citizens who want to see progress, and you know, I will do it the best I can.
As we are. So,
All right.
we're not doing what you did, so, and we feel you're stopping us, so you show the same respect.
We'll move the second. Further discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Russell?
Yes.
Mr. McGinnis?
Yes.
Ms. Bunt?
Yes,
Mr. Summerfield?
Yes.
Mr. Randazzo?
Yes, motion is carried. Public comment on agenda items. Anyone wishing to speak on any agenda item this evening? Yes, Carla.
Carla Castillo, 69 Hasbrook Avenue. This was brought up by Tony Incano of the Conservation Advisory Council, and it's regarding item number 20, the 2 Mill Street deleted state superfund. He came across some documentation that where the Mill Street was delisted and was listed as saying that now that is residential development could take place on the site. And then he also forwarded some documentation, which I'm happy to share later, that apparently was, my understanding is that it's the full-fledged report on the site, and in the last paragraph of that site, it says that the site should only be used for industrial purposes. So there seems to be a little bit of a disconnect. I'm going to share that with the board just to make sure that the board has the information.
Okay, anyone else? Okay, first item on the agenda is a resolution on the to adopt the 2017 Benefit Assessment District rules. Whereas heretofore the town of Cornwall held public hearings on benefit assessment districts for 2017 on the following districts: Cornwall Refuse District, Firthcliffe Heights Sewer District, Firthcliffe Sewer District, Beaver Dam Lake Sewer District, Majestic Sewer District, Hidden Glen Drainage District, Main Street Parking District, and Stone Hollow Drainage District. And whereas after the town board reviewed all of the comments by the public hearings were closed. Now therefore be resolved as follows. The town board does hereby adopt the 2017 Benefit Assessment District rules as submitted. A motion on the resolution?
So moved.
Or a second?
second.
Discussion? Roll call?
Mr. Russell?
Yes.
Mr. McGinnis?
Yes.
Ms. Bunt?
Yes,
Mr. Summerfield?
Yes.
Mr. Randazzo?
Yes, motion is carried. Next item is the resolution on the Town of Cornwall Hazardous Materials Response Plan. This has been worked on by the Highway Superintendent. It's a requirement that we have a plan in place. The plan addresses health and safety protection for the Town of Cornwall as prepared by the Superintendent of Highways. I'll read the resolution. Whereas the Town of Cornwall Highway Department employs workers engaged in emergency response, and whereas OSHA 29 CRF 1910.120G requires employers and emergency responders to develop and implement emergency response plans in regards to hazardous waste material emergencies, and whereas the town board has before it a proposed hazardous material response plan prepared by the superintendent of the town highway department, Therefore, be it resolved as follows. One, that the town board hereby approves and adopts a proposed hazardous material response plan. And two, that a copy of the hazardous material response plan shall be kept on file in the town clerk's office and shall be made available to all employees, the representatives, and OSHA personnel. Is there a motion on the resolution?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion? Roll call?
Mr. Russell?
Yes.
Mr. McGinnis?
Yes.
Ms. Bunt?
Yes.
Mr. Summerfield?
Yes.
Mr. Randazzo?
Yes, motion is carried. Next is a request for the Mood Madness 5-mile plan, 5-mile running race, picturesque roads. The event is November 20th, 2016 at 11:15 a.m., benefiting Country Kids Food Pantry in Washingtonville. And the only thing they indicated was some support requested at the intersection of Otterkill and Jackson, where the race turns left. And at our work session, we discussed that. Our police chief was there. And basically, if we can provide some barricades or whatever they need, but if they provide a volunteer, it's not a busy intersection, and rather than put a police officer there, that could easily be accommodated by the group that's putting on the run. So I will ask for a motion to approve the event.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Second, discussion?
Just ask if there's a volunteer conducting any traffic, that an officer stops and checks on them, make sure they have everything under control.
Okay. Okay, roll call?
Mr. Russell?
Yes.
Mr. McGinnis?
Yes.
Ms. Bunt?
Yes.
Mr. Summerfield?
Yes.
Mr. Randazzo?
Yes, motion is carried. The budget workshop meetings, I completed the tentative town budget, submitted it on September 30th. The board members have copies, and we are going to have our first budget workshop meeting Thursday, October 13th at 7 o'clock p.m. Just note that for the record. Next item is the New York State DEC consent order for modification of wastewater treatment plant. Our attorney, Dominic Crodisco, has been in touch with the DEC regarding a revised schedule for the project to proceed. And I have a resolution. Whereas New York State Department of Environmental Conservation and the Town of Cornwall entered into an order of consent which included a schedule of compliance in connection with improvements and upgrades to the town's wastewater treatment plant. Whereas on September 9, 2016, Attorney Dominic Crodisco wrote on behalf of the town to the regional attorney for the DEC requesting an amendment to the consent order that would modify the schedule of compliance for improvements and upgrades. And whereas in a letter dated September 19, 2016, the DEC consented to the town's request to modify the compliance schedule, has provided the town with a consent order modification which expires on October 31st, 2016.
That's the date to sign it by.
Okay,
The time is pushed out through 2018.
okay, reflecting the revised schedule. Now therefore be resolved as follows. One, that the town board hereby approves the attached consent order modification. And two, the town board authorizes supervisor to execute the same. Is there a motion on the resolution?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion? Roll call?
Mr. Russell?
Yes.
Mr. McGinnis?
Yes.
Ms. Bunt?
Yes.
Mr. Summerfield?
Yes.
Mr. Randazzo?
Yes, motion is carried. Okay, Cornwall Chambers made a request, small business Saturday shop hop. They write that for the past 5 years, they've organized a small business Saturday shop hop of Cornwall and Cornwall and Hudson. Every year they try to add something to keep people interested, and each year it continues to grow. This year requests the use of the lined out part of Bridge Street for a welcome center where shop hoppers can pick up their scorecard, shopping bag, and grab a quick snack. Snacks will be provided by Greater Cornwall Chamber of Commerce members. Welcome Center will be available from 10 a.m. to noon, so request the use of the area from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. for setup and cleanup. And I think the only question that we had on that, which I talked to him, was the parking for both hazards and for Clark Associates to make sure that they're aware of it, and so that it won't create a problem for them getting in and out of their parking spaces there off of Bridge Street. So, is there a motion to approve the event?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion? Roll call?
Do we know if they communicated with hazards and Clark Associates?
She had said that they would take care of that, and they didn't see that as a problem. Okay, is it roll call?
Mr. Russell?
Yes.
Mr. McGinnis?
Yes.
Ms. Bunt? Ms. Bunt?
Yeah, they did do something like that last year, but they did it across the street.
Okay.
That was a yes, ma'am?
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Summerfield?
Yes.
Mr. Randazzo?
Yes, the motion is carried. Next is the second request from the Cornwall Chamber for holiday activities. With the request to decorate Main Street, Hudson Street for fall with corn stalks and ribbons, which are out and look very nice, as a matter of fact. Friday, October 17th, leaving them up till November 27th when they begin decorating for Christmas. They'd like to use the apron on Bridge Street for Halloween, October 29th for refreshments. We would like to host a costume parade for children and pets that will coincide with the Halloween window painting. The event will go from 1 to 4 with the parade happening at 3 p.m. starting in front of the Verizon building on the sidewalk down to Willow Avenue, where it will cross and come back up Main Street to Bridge Street, patio for prizes and refreshments. 3 prizes will be awarded to children and 3 to pets along with holiday treats. Trick-or-treating will be from 1 to 3 from Main Street businesses as well as other chamber businesses that want to set up tables and participate. For the holiday tree line, we'd like to use the apron on Bridge Street to set up a Santa land to act as a second activity to entertain children along with the horse-drawn carriages. We'd use this area from noon until after the tree lighting is over. Sincerely, Eileen Hartman. Is there a motion to approve the events?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion? Roll call?
Mr. Russell?
Yes.
Mr. McGinnis?
Yes.
Ms. Bunt? Mr. Summerfield?
Yes.
Mr. Randazzo?
Yes, motion is carried. Have a request from the Lions Club, ready for permission for the Cornwall Lions Club to sell their wreaths and town hall property, similar to the farmers market selling their products on Wednesdays. We would be selling wreaths for a total of 4 weekends, last weekend in November and the first 3 weekends in December. For years, we sold wreaths on Main Street, but the proceeds have been disappointing for all the work that goes into the project. I believe that much of the problem has to do with limited parking along Main Street. People see us but cannot find a space to park comfortably to do so. As you know, the Cornwall Lions Club is very active in the community. Last year, we donated more than $23,000 to charities and organizations in keeping with our motto, "We serve." Of course, in order to give away money, we must first make it. Selling the wreaths at Christmas time is only one of several fundraisers that we conduct annually. Hopefully, however, by changing the venue for our wreath sales this year, we'll be more financially successful with this endeavor. Very much appreciate bringing the request to the town board. If we're given permission to use the town hall property, selling wreaths, the Lions Club will provide a certificate of insurance named to the town as additional insured. The area will be left clean of all debris. In addition, when the farmers market for the winter, hopefully that's going to go forward. On this if there is a Saturday when the market is open, they also would like to be outside of the farmers market and also sell the wreaths there. So, is there a motion to approve the request?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Discussion? Roll call?
Mr. Russell?
Yes.
Mr. McGinnis?
Yes.
Ms. Bunt?
Yes.
Mr. Summerfield?
Yes.
Mr. Randazzo?
Yes, motion is carried. Another letter from the Lions Club. I met with Peter Brandt and Phil Cameron, who's the co-chair, and we met up at the circle at the 9/11 Memorial and the EMS Memorial. And what they'd like to do is, in honor of the first responders and 9/11 victims, the Lions Club would like to have a means of being able to fly their flag when, during the year on holidays, they put flags up on the businesses down Main Street and through the area, throughout the town. So what we decided was just allowing them to put a sleeve in the ground in the middle of the plantings where they could put the flag in for the day and then take it out at the end of the day would work fine, and you wouldn't even notice that the sleeve is there. So just approval to authorize them to install the sleeve and use that sleeve for flying the flag on those holidays.
So moved. Second.
Move second, discussion, roll call?
Mr. Russell?
Yes.
Mr. McGinnis?
Yes.
Ms. Bunt?
Yes.
Mr. Summerfield?
Yes.
Mr. Randazzo?
Yes, motion is carried. A letter from Neil Wilkinson, Supervisor Randazzo, and board members, please accept this letter as a request for approval for Lions Fall Harvest Race to be held on Sunday, November 13th, 2016 at 8:30 a.m. at Storm King Engine Company, number 2, 233 Hudson Street, Cornwall and Hudson. It's been a popular community-driven event in Cornwall for over the past 10 years. I'll advise Chief Hazard and Highway Superintendent Eugene Conley. Please see the attached map of the 5K and 10K course. Insurance will be provided by the Lions Club. And they submitted the paperwork for it, and I think they also would like to use the parking lot at Town Hall. Is there a motion to approve the event?
So moved.
Second.
Move second, discussion, roll call?
Mr. Russell?
Yes.
Mr. McGinnis?
Yes.
Ms. Bunt?
Yes.
Mr. Summerfield?
Yes.
Mr. Randazzo?
Yes, the motion is carried. Next, I received a letter from Congressman Maloney regarding the proposal before the U.S. Coast Guard regarding barge anchorages at 10 proposed sites at the Hudson River. The Congressman indicates that there's been a 90-day extension for public comment, and he's asked us to provide comment on this matter. I do have a letter I'd like to read that will be sent to the Coast Guard. The Town of Cornwall sincerely thanks the U.S. Coast Guard for the opportunity to comment on this matter. The town submits this comment to express its concerns about this proposed rule. The Town of Cornwall is concerned about the negative impacts that the proposed rule will have on its and other Hudson River communities' health and safety, environment, and economy. Health and safety risks. The proposed rule and increased barge anchorage grounds on the Hudson River present a high risk of health and safety concerns to communities and those who use the Hudson River for recreation and livelihood. The increased anchorage capacity will lead to increased traffic on the Hudson River of shipments such as crude oil and ethanol. Increased oil traffic brings a greater risk of oil spills and water contamination. This causes a grave concern to communities' drinking water supply. The Hudson River not only provides drinking water for several communities along the river, but is also part of an extensive water system that connects to surface and groundwater supplies throughout the region. An increase in anchorage grounds will foster an increased risk of devastating effects on the drinking water supply of the densely populated Hudson Valley region. Also, increased traffic and anchorage grounds pose a risk to boaters and waterfront infrastructure resulting from unanchored drifting barges. This has been the case with the latest construction of the Tappan Zee Bridge. Increased barge presence around the bridge project has resulted in several incidents of barges coming unanchored and drifting, even with routine safety and security checks. These occurrences and risks will become more likely with the proposed substantial increase in barge travel and anchorage throughout the Hudson River. Environmental risks. As stated above, the increase in anchorage grounds will increase the risk of oil spills and water contamination. Spills and contamination would wreak havoc on the wildlife and plant life that heavily rely on the Hudson River. Over the years, there's been a major effort by New York State, local communities, and community organizations to clean up and restore the natural habitat that is the Hudson River. Even though the effort has been vast and progress has been made, the Hudson is still plagued by harmful conditions. One oil spill or water contamination could undo several years and millions of dollars worth of work and return the Hudson to its former, more dangerous condition. The Hudson River is also home to several federally endangered species, including the Atlantic sturgeon. Any threat to the river is a threat to these endangered species who call the Hudson River their home. Not only would the endangered species suffer from oil spills and water contamination, but anchoring could also damage vital sturgeon habitat. Sturgeons rely on riverbeds for breeding and feeding needs. Increased anchorage could damage and destroy vital riverbeds, further harming the species. Economic risks. Hudson Valley commerce relies heavily on its tourism industry. This industry relies on the serene, picturesque, and natural qualities that the Hudson River provides. Increased barge travel and anchoring of ships would greatly diminish the attractive characteristics that the Hudson River encompasses. This quality reduction could negatively impact the region's tourism industry and take away financial resources from local and regional business that benefit from and rely on such industry. Also, several communities and private landowners along the Hudson River have invested money and effort into developing their waterfront areas. Waterfront developments rely on the peaceful natural qualities of the Hudson River. Increased anchorage along the river would result in noise and light pollution from barges and diminish aesthetic qualities the river provides. Such effects could impact waterfront property and their values, causing investments to go fruitless and reduce values. Further, an oil spill or water contamination would make waterfront areas dangerous and unsightly, further affecting the waterfront commerce and populations. In conclusion, the proposed rule allowing additional anchorage grounds along the Hudson River poses substantial risks to the health and safety, environment, and economy of many local communities, including the town of Cornwall. The U.S. Coast Guard is urged to fully consider the negative impacts of these anchorage grounds and withdraw the proposed rule. The town of Cornwall thanks you for your attention to the concerns of its community members and neighboring communities. I'd like to have a motion just authorizing this letter be sent to the Coast Guard to express our views on their proposal.
So moved.
Second.
Move second, discussion. Roll call.
Mr. Russell?
Yes.
Mr. McGinnis?
Yes.
Ms. Bunt?
Yes.
Mr. Summerfield?
Yes.
Mr. Randazzo?
Yes, motion is carried. The Pilgrim Pipeline, we go from the waterfront to our western borders, And we know we've been dealing with the bomb trains along the West Shore Railroad, and it seems endless, and we really have our challenges. Fortunately, the DEC and New York State Thruway Authority, which are lead agencies on the Pilgrim Pipeline proposal, have issued a positive declaration, which means that there'll be a complete environmental review, which will give us opportunities to at least speak out and express our concerns with this proposal from the DEC. I looked at, when you look through the positive declaration, and it really, it's rather eye-opening when it includes some of the detail that they provide. And you really have to sit back and say, with these potential impacts, why are they even considering a project like this? Jeopardizing our residents and jeopardizing our communities. It just really doesn't make any sense today when you look at what's going on in the energy field, where we're looking to go to other types of energy and get away from crude oil. But the fact, and just to emphasize that, it indicates the main pipelines would each be up to 20 inches in diameter and would be capable of transporting the equivalent of 200,000 barrels of oil per day. And you multiply that out, and that comes to about 8.5 million gallons of crude oil or product in the course of a day. And I cited, I spoke at the town of New Windsor, there was a meeting on Pilgrim Pipeline, and just cited, for example, the tanker that leaked on the thruway, which in a rough estimate contained maybe 9,000 gallons of product, and it closed the thruway down for 12 hours. I mean, can we imagine if this pipeline, if there's a breach and hundreds of thousands of gallons of oil spill out into the New York State Thruway, into our rivers and streams and our properties and our aquifers? I mean, it would be of such devastating proportions that it would be decades before any community would recover from that kind of a loss. And I think, again, you just look at it in terms of the impact that it can have. And there's even concern about if they let that Pilgrim pipeline go in, what impact does that have on the thruway and their ability to maintain the thruway and eventually expand in areas where they would have to expand. So I think there's a real fight on our hands to really convince the DEC and the Thruway Authority that this is the wrong project, the wrong time, and it has just no business being even considered. And to that end, I mean, what I'm going to do, I've talked to some of my counterparts in surrounding communities. I'm going to write a letter to Governor Cuomo, and I'm going to invite him down to a town hall meeting to come down here and face his constituents and be able to explain to us why we should be put at risk for a project that is strictly a private venture and provides absolutely not one single benefit to our communities. And I think he owes us an explanation, and I think that he has to understand that this goes beyond just money for the New York State Thruway Authority and for the state of New York. This really is a threat to our complete environment and our way of living. So I am going to be sending a letter off to him to invite him down. I will hope that he will take us up on that. This goes well beyond the town of Cornwall, and I think he owes us, at an absolute minimum, to come down and address the communities as to why he has not stepped in and just said, no, we are not going to allow any Pilgrim pipeline to go down the New York State Thruway. So I do have a resolution that I want to have the board approve regarding the time frame for comment. To whereas Pilgrim Pipeline Holdings LLC has proposed to construct 2 pipelines carrying crude oil and refined petroleum products between Albany, New York and Linden, New Jersey, cutting through the town of Cornwall and 30 other towns, cities, and villages in the Hudson Valley, Catskill region, and capital area. And whereas the town of Cornwall had previously adopted a resolution requesting a minimum 90-day public comment period following the release of a draft scoping document. Now therefore be resolved as follows: that 1, that the town board of the town of Cornwall, as a potentially involved agency, requests the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation and New York State Thruway Authority as co-lead agencies to provide an additional 90-day public comment period. And 2, that a copy of this resolution be sent to New York State DEC Commissioner Basil Sagos, New York State Thruway Authority Acting Executive Director Bill Finch, and Governor Andrew Cuomo. Is there a motion on the resolution?
So moved.
For a second? Discussion?
Well, the suggestion I would have is that you try to coordinate with the surrounding supervisors and mayors and try to get them to join you in that petition to the governor.
They are. I've already talked to many of them. I'll be talking to a few more, and
So
they are.
it's a regional.
they're all on board. That's why I think having them come down, it goes well beyond the town of Cornwall. And the other supervisors and mayors of the community recognize the jeopardy that we would be placed in if this project ever becomes a reality.
So they're all willing to make that request to the governor.
Absolutely, they would love to see the governor come down in our neck of the woods
Mhm.
and just see what the risk would be. So, do we get a motion? Do we have a second? Do we have discussion? Roll call?
Mr. Russell?
Yes.
Mr. McGinnis?
Yes.
Ms. Bunt?
Yes.
Mr. Summerfield? Mr. Randazzo?
Yes, the motion is carried. At our work session, we talked about the inflow and infiltration of into our Cornwall sewer collection system, and that we're working with the DEC, or under the DEC actually, to try to evaluate the system and take corrective action. And one of the things that Russ Budd, who has been working with us on the upgrades to the Cornwall sewer plant, has indicated that there could be either grant money available or low-interest loans that would assist the town with this type of work going forward. In addition, Russ has stated that we should be moving forward with the paperwork and requests now to work with the EFC on funding or any grants for the second phase of the upgrade to the Cornwall sewer plant, which is probably 5 years out. But if we do that now and try to tie that in with the current project that we have, he believes that it'll make us more qualified to receive more assistance in terms of either grants or low-cost, low-interest loans to be able to move forward with the second phase of the project. So I have a resolution for the board. Whereas the New York State Water Grant Program administered by New York State EFC offers grants which could be potential funding for the proposed work to mitigate infiltration and inflow in the Cornwall Sewer District, and whereas the town's consultant, Russ Budd, has recommended the town initiate the necessary steps to apply for said grant next year. Whereas the first step in the process would be for the town board to authorize the town's consulting engineers, McGoey, Hauser, Etzel, to prepare an engineering report for the proposed I&I work, to include work on the digesters. Now therefore be resolved as follows. The town board hereby authorizes McGoey, Hauser, and Etzel to submit its proposal for the preparation of an engineering report for the proposed I&I work, including work on the digesters for the Cornwall Sewer District. Is there a motion on the resolution?
So moved.
Second.
Move, second, discussion, roll call.
Mr. Russell?
Yes.
Mr. McGinnis?
Yes.
Ms. Bunt?
Yes.
Mr. Summerfield?
Yes.
Mr. Randazzo?
Yes, motion is carried. Next item is we've received a letter from AT&T, American Cellular Corporation. It's a land lease extension. It says notice of intent to extend the lease. Land lease agreement, July 10, 2006, by and between American Cellular Corporation and Town of Cornwall. And what they're indicating is, please accept this letter as written. Notification of American Cellular Corp. doing business as New Singular Wireless is extending the term of this lease for an additional 5-year term from November 10, 2016 through November 9th, 2021. Signed by Clarence Rose. And we just want to note that for the record because it's an automatic, correct?
Yes.
It's an automatic
They have a right
extension. I have a memo from Chief Hazard regarding No Shave November. Town of Cornwall Police Department is looking to participate in No Shave November to raise cancer awareness. I'm requesting the town board allow me to suspend the general order that requires officers to be clean shaven for the month of November. Officers who elect to participate would be required to make a monetary donation of $20 to the American Cancer Society. Participating officers would still need to keep all facial hair neatly trimmed. Long, stringy beards would not be permitted. On December 1st, normal grooming standards would be back in effect. Respectfully submitted, Chief Todd Hazard. Is there a motion to approve the chief's request?
So moved.
Second.
Move, second, discussion. Roll call.
Mr. Russell?
Yes.
Mr. McGinnis?
Yes.
Ms. Bunt?
Yes.
Mr. Summerfield?
Yes.
Mr. Randazzo?
Yes, motion is carried. Next item I have, it's a resolution also that I will read. It's regarding the Cornwall Park townhouses. They filed a tax certiorari action against the town, and our attorney out of Hacker Murphy has been handling this, And through negotiated settlement, what they're recommending is that the town accept the agreement. And what it does is there are 3 years involved, 2014, 15, 15 and 16, and 16 and 17. In 2004 was the last assessment that was done. It was $4,850,500. And the assessed value that the 3 years that they're arguing for had been set at $5,692,126. So in the agreement, the estimated new assessment valuation will be $5,045,990,000. So that's slightly more than what we had in 2004. And I think given the fact that we are in the revaluation, and hopefully we will have a new role as a result of the reval for May 1st, then I would certainly recommend that we move forward with this. I have a resolution, whereas heretofore Cornwall Town Park Houses LLC filed petitions under Real Property Tax Law Article 7 in New York State Supreme Court, Orange County, New York, challenging the real property tax assessment for its property located in the town of Cornwall, and more fully described on the next schedule prepared by E. Stewart Jones Hacker Murphy, LLP, Special Counsel. Whereas the town has received the attached consent order and judgment settling the above for assessment years 2014, 15, and 16, whereas it's in the best interest of the town to settle this matter, and therefore be resolved as follows. The town board hereby authorizes special counsel to the town to enter into and execute the consent order and judgment on behalf of the town for 2014, 15, and 16 assessments for CPT, all in accordance with the annexed schedule. Is there a motion on the resolution? Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion? Roll call?
Mr. Russell?
Yes.
Mr. McGinnis?
Yes.
Ms. Bunt?
Yes.
Mr. Summerfield?
Yes.
Mr. Randazzo?
Yes, the motion is carried. I have a memo from our Highway Superintendent, authorization to purchase a Boss 10-foot snowplow assembled with snow deflector from RTS Truck Center. Plow will be installed on a 2010 F550. This truck is used primarily for Mine Hill Road. Purchase price $6,155. 2 additional quotes were received, and he's recommended this be approved. Funds are available in the highway appropriation. Is there a motion on the authorization of purchase? Is there a second? Discussion? Roll call?
Mr. Russell?
Yes.
Mr. McGinnis?
Yes.
Ms. Bunt?
Yes.
Mr. Summerfield?
Yes.
Mr. Randazzo?
Yes, motion is carried. Next, on the KOVAC contract, the town board has, with KOVAC, has extended the contract with them on a couple-month period. This past month, Councilwoman Bunt and I met with KOVAC, and we had presented the contract that the town board has put together and proposed to them, which would allow KOVAC to go out on their own, separate from the town, but providing the ambulance service to the town as of June 1st. At this time, KOVAC is reviewing the contract, so the current extension we have, I think, is extended to November 1st. So I have a resolution that will extend the contract for another 2 months. So whereas heretofore the town has established a Cornwall Ambulance District, which incorporates substantially all of the unincorporated area of the town as well as the village of Cornwall Hudson. Whereas the Cornwall Volunteer Ambulance Corps is willing to operate ambulance vehicles and provide pre-hospital emergency medical service within the ambulance district, and is also willing to enter into a contract for provision of such services within the town's ambulance district. And whereas the 2013 contract between the parties was extended to November 1st, 2016. And whereas it is appropriate for the town on behalf of the ambulance district and KOVAC to extend the contract for the provision of the above services from November 1st, 2016 to December 31st, 2016, while a new long-term contract is negotiated. Now therefore be resolved as follows, that the town board hereby extends the contract between the ambulance district and KOVAC from November 1st, 2016 to December 31st, 2016. Is there a motion on the resolution?
So moved.
Second.
Second, move to second, discussion, roll call?
Mr. Russell?
Yes.
Mr. McGinnis?
Yes.
Ms. Bunt?
Yes.
Mr. Summerfield?
Yes.
Mr. Randazzo?
Yes, motion is carried. Next, I have we're looking at the workers' compensation insurance coverage renewals coming up, and I have a letter from William A. Smith. It's William A. Smith would be interested in representing the town of Cornwall as broker for your workers' compensation coverage through PERMA as of 1/1/2017 renewal. Though the customary commission provided by brokers, to brokers by PERMA is 5%, we'd be willing to accept 2.5% if you choose our agency as broker. As residents of the town of Cornwall, we'd be very happy to pass along the savings to the town taxpayers. Please let me know if the town board would be interested in working with William A. Smith. Sincerely, Kathy Smith McCarty. I had a discussion with PERMA. They're working on our renewal, plus we are looking at other markets for the workers' comp. And I think pretty much the way it is if we don't have a broker, we still would pay whatever the premium is going to be. If we have a broker, that broker gets 5%. But in my discussion with PERMA is if we do have a broker, which we currently have a broker now, but if we have a broker and negotiate with them a lower premium or payment to them, broker's fee, commission, then we can share in that. So I've talked to Smith, they're willing to accept 2.5%. So if we do go with PERMA, the town will actually receive the benefit of a 2.5% reduction from whatever the premium would be for 2017. So it's like I have a motion that would designate William A. Smith for broker to deal with PERMA and the workers' comp coverage.
So,
There's a second?
Second.
Discussion? Roll call?
Mr. Russell?
Yes.
Mr. McGinnis?
yes.
Ms. Bunt?
Yes.
Mr. Summerfield?
Yes.
Mr. Randazzo?
Yes, the motion is carried. And item number 20, which Carla had commented on, we did receive the notice from the DEC. State Superfund site on Mill Street, Cornwall, is now deleted from the registry of contaminated sites. So we'll just note that for the record. Under personnel, I'm happy to entertain the name of Hector Torres as our 5th member of the Senior Advisory Committee. Would you like to make that motion?
I will make that motion for Hector Torres to be our 5th member of the Senior Advisory Committee.
Is there a second?
Second.
I know everybody wants to second it for you, Hector. Roll call vote?
Mr. Russell?
Yes.
Mr. McGinnis?
Yes.
Ms. Bunt?
Yes.
Mr. Summerfield?
Yes.
Mr. Randazzo?
Yes, the motion is carried. I have a memo from Chief Hazard regarding part-time dispatcher. Respectfully request the town consider hiring Douglas de Blasi as a part-time dispatcher at the prevailing rate of $16.47 per hour. Douglas de Blasi is currently reported as a part-time dispatcher in a neighboring agency, is very familiar with dispatching procedures. Is there a motion to appoint?
So moved. Second.
Moving second, discussion, roll call?
Mr. Russell?
Yes.
Mr. McGinnis?
Yes.
Ms. Bunt?
Yes.
Mr. Summerfield?
Yes.
Mr. Randazzo?
Yes, the motion is carried. Committee reports, Councilwoman Hunt?
Okay, I'll do the planning department first. Permits issued 22, CCs 11, COs 4, on-site inspections 49, complaints investigated 3, 1 stop work order, 20 fire inspections, 14 signs removed, $5,191 for permit fees, $3,900 for municipal searches, and projects open, planning board 7, zoning board 4. And for the seniors, the senior advisory committee has really taken off. They're very active, they're meeting weekly. They have a lot of good ideas they're coming up with. They've met with Valerie. I think they're gonna meet with Karen, so they don't cross over on certain things. But they want to really provide programs to get the seniors out and use Munger more and appreciate the building for what it is. And they're targeting the men. So, and believe it or not, Betty wants poker games. So that's a good thing. And Kovac, I don't have the number of calls for Kovac, but as you said, we are, and they do meet tonight, so I'm here. We are working on that contract with them,
Okay.
and that's it.
Okay, Councilman Summerfield?
The Cornwall Advisory Committee met last Wednesday. They're planning their annual fall highway cleanup of Route 218. CAC adopted 2-mile stretch of the Storm King Scenic Highway back in 2008 and coordinates an annual spring and autumn cleanup. The spring cleanup was canceled due to the closing of the highway at the time. The date is October 23rd. And they'll be notifying Ken Cashman of the details to announce it, to increase the number of volunteers that participate. The CAC also discussed how they can contribute to the town's letter and position regarding the Cleveland pipeline as regards the actual resources inventory of the town and how that may be impacted. On September 21, CAC met with Lily Grove CAC, along with Supervisor Dick Randazzo, Mayor Brendan Coyne, as well as the Orange County Water Authority and the Hudson River Estuary Program to discuss natural resources inventory of the region. The study and inventory is being conducted through a grant and has been the #1 goal of the CAC, as knowledge of rare and endangered plants and species, as well as defining uniquely environmentally sensitive areas, are important for both our environment as well as to protect against intrusive development. And as noted by Carla Castillo, there is also questions regarding the status of Majestic Weaving's property, given the removal of the Superfund list, whether there in fact is allowed residential use for that site. October 21st is the ribbon cutting and ecology stroll at Black Rock Forest. The Black Rock Forest Consortium is pleased to welcome New York State Parks Commissioner Rose Harvey for a press conference and ribbon cutting ceremony in celebration of the new ADA compliant visitor access pathway on Friday, October 21st at 10 a.m. Join us as we celebrate the forest's first wheelchair and stroller friendly pathway and its scenic views of the Schwanegunk and Catskill mountain ranges. The Economic Advisory Committee did not meet this past Thursday due to the Hoboken train crash. Several members were unable to attend. However, they did participate in the Cornwall Public Library's Community Conversation Series, which focused on economic development in Cornwall. It was attended by local town representatives, including Supervisor Randazzo, Mayor Coyne, Peter Russell, myself, business owners, educators, community volunteers, and interested citizens. There was great dialogue, key issues were addressed, and many concerns were raised about the direction that Cornwall is going. It was overall a very good discussion, and we look forward to participating again in another community conversation. That's it.
Okay. I do want to note one thing for the record. Obviously, we've adopted the mission statement for Economic Development Advisory Committee. Consider it an extremely important committee that can really help produce some real benefits for the community. And at this point, what I'm going to do is I'm going to change the liaison to the Economic Development Advisory Committee. Michael, I'll be the liaison, working with the committee and reporting to the town board on their activities. I think the fact that I'm in town hall just about every day and can help them with resources and with some of the ideas that they have and trying to provide input that will help them be able to move forward. So we'll just note that for the record, and I'll have the report next month from the Economic Development. Councilman Russell?
Recreation, boys basketball signups beginning tomorrow, October 12th, and run through Friday, October 21st. It's $65 per player and is open from first grade students all the way through 7th grade. League runs from November through March of 2017, and play locations will be at Lee Road, COH Elementary, and at the middle school. Also, their West Point holiday concert followed by a dinner at Munger Cottage. This is for the seniors. Sunday, December 4th. It's $5 per Cornwall senior, and non-resident seniors can begin to register on November 22nd. So I believe that Cornwall seniors can sign up now for $5, and then later on they'll open it up to non-resident seniors. It's a 11:15 departure time from Munger Cottage. That again is on Sunday, December 4th. For the police department, for September 2016, there were 748 calls for service. Over 9,063 miles of patrol were driven. There were 44 motor vehicle accidents reported. 23 alarms were reported, both residential and business combined. 19 ambulance requests, 16 animal complaints, 13 disabled vehicles, 26 suspicious vehicle or persons, unknown if any of those are clowns, 6 house checks, and 17 assists of other agencies. There's nothing else to report from the police department. And as far as sewer, for Shore Road, all measured parameters within permit limits, and also there was some routine maintenance and other routine items that were done as part of maintenance. And then for First Cliff, also all measured parameters within permit limits. And then one other thing from the farmer's market, the proposed hours for the, I don't know, did you get a copy of this? The proposed
I did.
hours for
I just got
for
to
the winter?
I did.
So do you want to work on this now or during the workshop?
Well, I think just some indication probably that we are planning on having the winter market. And just sort of we'll be putting further information out on more specific as to when the hours. I know there's some suggestions on hours and so forth.
Exactly.
And I assume this was done in concert with vendors and availability and so forth. But I think just to state that we're going to have the outdoor market probably, and it'll be in that time frame from November 1st to
November 1st through May 15th.
Still on Saturdays?
That's to be worked out. This is the proposal from the farmer's market manager, and we have to work out the particulars. But again, it's proposed to run from November 1st through May 15th.
Okay.
And we just have to work out exactly what the schedule will be. And one other thing from the farmer's market is Wednesday, October 12th, and also on Wednesday, October 19th, the Hudson Valley Seafood Company will be joining our vendors at our farmer's market.
Yeah,
Is that only for those 2 weeks?
This is the announcement that I have. If there's going to be anything further, I'll make sure I get that out there.
could be a draw.
So, again, the Hudson Valley Seafood Company on October 12th and also on October 19th. And end of committee report.
Councilman Guinness?
The assessor's office is receiving the return data mailers signed by homeowners and processing any information other than what was on the original data mailers in the form of homeowners updating their properties themselves. And we are still planning, hoping for a spring roll.
Absolutely.
Yes. The highway department, highway and sanitation, for the month, street sweeping and cleaning basins townwide, basin rebuilding, various locations, weed eating and roadside mowing, town and country. You've probably seen some of our employees out with the weed eaters. Place barricades for various events at the pond, clean Main Street, Bridge Street area for fall festival, topsoil and seed first part of rain garden project. Replace drainage pipe Maple Street, remove loose stone signs townwide. That's from the oil and chip paving project. Hot patchwork townwide, clean lower section of Old Route 32, road surface with blower, dug out drainage ditches to help water flow. Work with tree crew, removing hazardous trees in the town right-of-ways. Cleaned up large tree with help of Central Hudson on Maple Street. Help sanitation department as needed, brush trimming, site distance, clearing, Clarkwood Drive, and general maintenance on all equipment, including sanders for winter. They're also looking into the possibility of having another electronics recycling event. If it is scheduled, town residents will be notified when and where. Hopefully, the plan is to have another one before winter if it all works out.
Okay. I do want to emphasize, just following up on Terry with the reval, is with the data mailers that have gone out, it really is important. It's the opportunity for the residents to look that over. And if they find any discrepancies on what's on a data mailer, as far as detail of the house, to get back in touch, get the forms sent in so that they can be followed up with the assessor's office. Because our hope, of course, is having a new rule that comes out that's as accurate as can be. And one of the most important things is having the data that's in it to be correct. So this is the homeowner's opportunity to take a look at that firsthand and provide that input to the assessor's office. Okay, I now ask for motion on warrant number 10.
So moved.
For a second?
Second.
Discussion? Roll call?
Mr. Russell?
Yes.
Mr. McGinnis?
Yes.
Ms. Bunt?
Yes.
Mr. Summerfield?
Yes.
Mr. Randazzo?
Yes, motion is carried. Public comment? Yes.
Could I come forward and give a letter?
Mr.
to
Roll?
all of you? Are you my grandmother the times up? I'd like you to have this.
I had it this time.
You may go for this I'm sorry?
Sure.
Oh, I'm sorry, would you like one? Here you go. I knew I had one extra. There we go, that's fine. Excuse me, I'm a little rattled from something that was on the agenda. In response to the work session last week regarding the town evaluation, I was disappointed with a reserved comment in the praise given to the department within the town government for working so hard this year. My question to you as a town board, what has been going on for the past 17 years? As I try to grasp an understanding of how this neglect could happen and express concern in going forward, I looked on the Orange County Real Property website to determine how many properties there are in Cornwall. The number of properties posted on the site was 4,912. Looking at the table below, based on the number, I have constructed a data table to determine the number of properties the assessor's office could examine and update in order to avoid the gaps in assessments on all properties and avoid spot or selective assessments, which the town has been found guilty of and has spent a great deal of taxpayer dollars on litigations and outside appraisals. I base my numbers on an annual 45-week schedule. So if they did it for 1 year, they would have to do 21.83 properties per day. 5 years, 4.366 properties per day. 10 years, 2.183 properties. My question as a taxpayer is what system will be put in place in order to keep all properties current in order to promote an environment of consistency and equality for all property members? I don't know if the town board has looked at the appraisal that your independent appraiser has done. He is $100,000 under your assessor's fair market value. 100,000.
What are you talking about?
Well, you had, on my home, we had to do it in.
Oh, on your home?
Oh, yeah,
I'm
on my
sorry.
home.
You lost me, okay.
Okay, I'm sorry.
That's all right.
I'm shaking because I see that you settled one, and again, I'm sitting here hanging in the wind. And it's just not right. I'm an individual person. I'm paying $10,000 more a year in taxes than I should be. The Cornwall golf course that was sold for $500,000. My fair market value is $576,000. So my house is more valuable than the golf course. And the sad thing is, you're all very nice people, right? And I've enjoyed having conversations with each of you. But I want to know, are you reading these reports? You're losing a lot of money on these appraisals, and I know he was doing a few of them. I'm looking at this, I'm sure this is over $1,000. And I know, Mr. Randazzo, you had said to me, you know, you're not getting very much, revenue for doing, from the appraisals, the assessments. Why are we doing this? Is this really financially prudent? And I don't know why there isn't a law to require all municipalities to do it at least once every 5 years. It's just not right. And it's not being a very good neighbor when new people move into the community and they're assessed much higher than everyone. Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Anyone else? Yes, Nancy.
Nancy Bryan, 80 Quaker Avenue. I was quite dismayed when we received our assessment information in the mail on Saturday, and I dropped off to the assessor's office today the corrections. And in a matter of an hour, just speaking to a couple of people, not even like soliciting information, they had similar issues with, and one thing was bathrooms, and too many bathrooms, and the same thing happened with a couple of other people. There were so many things wrong with what I felt was wrong, my husband felt was wrong with what we received. It concerns me that that this would happen. In speaking with the building department, like, I was kind of curious as to whether those two offices communicate, and yes, the building department said that they do send things over. So if that's the case, I really don't understand why the assessor's office has no idea how many bathrooms I have in my house, or why would they think that a 280 square foot cottage actually contains a bedroom when there is none, and there never has been one, and the building department had all those plans back years ago when the prior owners had them and went to the assessors. There's a lot of things that, the house has never had public water, but since it was built in 1811, but it states that we're on public water. There's too many things that didn't require coming into the property that are wrong, that I truly hope that this isn't bigger and worse than, and I appreciate this being done, but I don't understand why there's so many mistakes already. Thank you.
Yeah, no, thank you, Nancy. And that obviously, that's one of the reasons why those are so important. And I can't speak about going, back, but going forward, if you bring those points out to the assessor's office and things can be done inside, or there means another field visit, that's the whole purpose of the data mailers, to really confirm information and make sure that the information is correct, so that when they go to the computer modeling and neighborhoods and everything else, that, we hope that we come out with accurate estimates across the board. So I thank you for that. Anyone else? Yes, Carla.
So I just want to thank you, Supervisor, for your leadership on the Anchorage sites and on the pipeline, and as well as the support of the board, because you obviously are really have the best interests of the community, and your partnerships with the surrounding municipalities, the best interests of those other municipalities to protect our environment and to protect our well-being. So I really thank you for your leadership in those areas.
Thank you, Carla. Appreciate that. Anyone else?
Just got one thing. The village-wide yard sale is this weekend, Saturday, October 15th.
Okay, we note that. All right, then I'll ask for motions for the board to go into closed session to seek the advice of counsel. Discussion, roll call.
Mr. Russell?
Yes.
Mr. McGinnis?
Yes.
Ms. Bunt? Mr. Summerfield?
Yes.
Mr. Randazzo?
Yes. Motion carried. We will not be taking any action.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.